Sawadee Kap, I'm JP Mestanza. Welcome to Phuket Extra, brought to you by pvcphuket.com. With a mass anti-government rally planned for this weekend in Bangkok, with an estimated 20,000 people reported to attend, the Prime Minister is saying security officials will be peaceful and gentle, but that the rally poses a risk of a new surge of COVID-19 transmission. The Premier also raised fears of a second wave of COVID-19 as a result of this weekend's protests, which is set to start at Thammasat University's Thap Prachaon campus, where they'll stay overnight and then march down to the government house the next day to file a petition for the dissolution of the government. As they repeated their three demands for the resignation of the Prime Minister, the dissolution of Parliament, and a new constitution, as well as the end of harassment of activists. Speaking with reporters yesterday, the Prime Minister Prayut said, quote, "Any major flare-up of infections will lead to terrible consequences and even worse economic destruction, the likes of which we have never seen. Please think about this. I respect your opinions, but right now, our country has very much more urgent and painful issues that need to be addressed. That is the economic destruction brought about by COVID. Let's not make the situation worse than it is." After giving examples of a second wave of European countries and other nations, the Premier warned protesters not to intrude on government office buildings, saying they would be treated gently by police and security forces, claiming that some would try to instigate violence, but the government would try to avoid that. Deputy Prime Minister Prawit Wongsuwon, the guy with the watches, he says protesters must stay at least 50 meters away from the government's house. The stage is set for this weekend. A prison inmate who escaped yesterday morning in Phetchabun wearing a warden's uniform and face masks, he was recaptured only hours later in a cornfield, and now an investigation is taking place on how he got out in the first place. 35-year-old Wutichai Dechasita Nawat had been behind bars at Phetchabun prison on charges of theft when yesterday morning at 9:54 a.m., CCTV caught him donning a stolen warder's uniform, a face mask, hat, and holding a package. He's seen calmly walking out of the prison parking lot, disappearing into the day. Local police, however, learned that he had escaped and launched a manhunt, tracking him down in a cornfield where they cornered him and made the arrest yesterday afternoon. Police say he went to his house and then left on a motorcycle, where they were able to track him to the cornfield. What police don't know at the moment is how he was able to get a hold of the uniform, documents and all, so easily, and just walk out without anyone batting an eye. For more, visit thephuketnews.com. Doctors at Vashira Phuket Hospital here in Phuket have taken nearly a month to conclude that Ponpipat Mit Yadam, a 20-year-old first-year student at Phuket Ratchabat University who last month collapsed on campus and died after cheerleading practice, she died of heart failure. There was no explanation of what had caused the heart failure, which is apparently still under investigation. Despite widespread initial reports of Nong Mint's death, explaining that the young student had been ordered to run laps around the pond on campus, which has a perimeter of 1 kilometer, Nong Mint reportedly collapsed during her 8th lap after she had made mistakes during cheerleading practice just before that, and she was sent to run as punishment. The university has consistently denied that Nong Mint died from any form of hazing, although first years are the only ones who are ordered to run laps. The university also maintains that they ran around the car park, not around the campus pond, during a student-organized event, not sanctioned by the school. While a second-year student who ordered Nong Mint to run has already been presented with an initial charge of negligence causing the death of another person over the incident, Colonel Tirawat today did assure that police will use the medical examination report as evidence to consider who else will be prosecuted. Her remains will be cremated at a temple in Sri Sutorn next Tuesday. Emergency services are on high alert throughout the island to respond to any flash floods, as a weather warning has been issued by the Thai Meteorological Department over the weather fallout from Category 3 Tropical Storm Nude. The southwest monsoon across the Andaman Sea and the Gulf of Thailand will see torrential rain with strong winds for all of Thailand. Here in Phuket, the Andaman Sea wind waves could reach up to 4 meters high, and all small boats are advised to keep ashore until the heavy weather passes, currently expected to clear by this Sunday, September 20th. The storm has prompted officials in Patong to cancel the scheduled weekend seafood festival at Patong Beach, although it will reopen next week if there's no storm. Sirinat National Park in the island's north has also been closed due to the storm. A 9-year-old girl died and 7 others were injured when a pickup truck slid off the road and plowed through people dining at a roadside restaurant on Tepkasatri Road on Wednesday night. It all took place in Macau at about 8:30 p.m. when the driver of the truck telling police he lost control of the truck on the slippery road there, and he wiped out a car and motorbike before plowing through the roadside restaurant and shop. Police are now awaiting results of an alcohol test on whether to charge him. Interior decorated by day and online arms dealer by night, a 32-year-old Nonthaburi man is now behind bars after police discovered his little secret on Facebook. The house of Napon Nanakon was raided by Crime Suppression Division police this morning after they received information that he had a side hustle of selling off gun parts and ammunition through a Facebook page, posting products with buyers transferring money all online. He confessed to having started selling off gun parts and accessories of gun parts 1 year ago to make money on the side. He's now charged with illegal possession of firearms and ammunition and illegal sale of firearms. 7 new COVID-19 cases in Thailand today, all found infected while in quarantine after arriving from abroad. The new cases include 5 Thais and 2 foreigners, all arrived from Bangladesh, Qatar, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia, with the nationwide total now at 3,497, 95% of whom are recovered. The death toll has increased to 59 plus 1 since the coronavirus outbreak began, after a Thai translator at the labor office in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, died of COVID-19 after returning to Bangkok earlier this month. He was declared dead at Rajaviti Hospital at noon today and had returned to Thailand on September 2nd, admitted to the hospital the same day. Doctors say X-rays showed his lungs were damaged, with Dr. Somsak Aksilp of the Rajaviti Hospital's Medical Science Department saying, quote, "This patient was asymptomatic when he transferred to Rajaviti, but we cannot deny that he died of COVID-19. Earlier this week, a photo emerged of a member of parliament, the gentleman from Chonburi province, looking at a photo of a naked woman on his phone during Wednesday's House session to debate the 2021 budget. And in response, he says it was all a setup. Ronatep Anuwat, an MP from Chonburi from the ruling Parliamentary party, was photographed looking at the photo while Parliament was in session. And after the story broke, House Speaker Chuan Likpai said the incident was a, quote, personal matter and not a violation of parliamentary regulations, so they couldn't punish that MP. MP Ronatep has been issued a warning admitting that this was the first time a complaint was lodged about any MP looking at inappropriate photos while Parliament was in session, as previous complaints were only about the inappropriate clothing MPs would wear in Parliament. MP Ronatep says he's the target of political rivals, and it was all a setup, saying he only looked at the photo since a text was sent to him and it simply popped up. He didn't know it would. For more, visit thephuketnews.com. A 112.5 billion baht contract for surgical gloves has gotten one official in hot water. He's now facing an embezzlement investigation because it's a $3.6 billion purchase of gloves. The pricey contract was terminated this week with an investigation now pending, and Police Colonel Rungroj Putiwayawat, the director of the Public Warehouse Organization's Central Admin Office, who was not authorized to implement the purchase without the board's authorization, he's now being transferred to an inactive post at the Prime Minister's office, with the Bangkok Post quoting a source who says he faces possible criminal investigations as well. It all stems from a contract that the government had that he didn't have the power to authorize to buy surgical gloves from Guardian Gloves Co. in Nakhon Pathom province, a 112.5 billion baht contract, and he says he didn't do anything wrong, claiming that the organization was asked to supply 500 million boxes of gloves to an exporter, which he says would have written off the government agency's mounting debts. The Department of Special Investigation and the Anti-Money Laundering Office, AMLO, they're now investigating embezzlement claims against Police Colonel Rungroj, according to the Bangkok Post. Here's a quick roundup for everyone asking about some of the immigration measures for people still in Thailand as the expiration of the visa amnesty on September 26 approaches. Firstly, the blanket visa amnesty for all visa types will end on September 26, and there's no official word that it will be extended. We've been here before, with the deadline just days away and officials denying any extension will take place, only for them to turn around and grant an extension of the amnesty for all visa types. This time, however, they did say that the September 26 deadline was set. This is Thailand, and of course, as always, things are subject to change. In order to stay beyond September 26, foreigners staying on any form of tourist visa will be allowed to repeatedly renew their permits to stay for 30 days at a time after the amnesty ends on September 26, but only if you're in one of two groups. The first group are tourists unable to return home due to illness, in which case you need to apply at an immigration office and present a medical certificate to prove that you cannot fly. The second group that could repeatedly renew their permits are tourists who cannot go back home because of lack of flights or the circumstances in their home country. And these people must present a letter from their home country's embassy or consulate in Thailand requesting that the foreigner be allowed to temporarily stay in Thailand. It's unclear if you have to have a letter for each 30-day extension, but you do have to reapply every 30 days. Now on to long-term stays, many of whom have non-immigration B or similar visas, which has an income requirement to be approved for a 1-year extension. The COVID-19 pandemic has left many of these people unable to satisfy this income requirement. But back on September 1st, the Deputy Chief of Phuket Immigration, Lieutenant Colonel Udon Tongchin, urged any foreigners at the time caught out by this requirement to delay filing their applications to renew their 1-year permits to stay until September 15th, saying he expected Immigration Bureau in Bangkok to make an announcement by now. So far, as of this broadcast, no word on that yet. Stay up to date with the latest at thephuket.news.com. And that's it for Phuket Extra today, brought to you by pvcphuket.com. For safe, secure, and soundproof windows, visit pvcphuket.com. Have a great weekend. We'll be back next week with all the news you missed. Until then, stay classy, Phuket.